And one final time during these Olympic Games, good afternoon. It is just past midnight in Paris. 6 p.m. on the East Coast, 3 p.m. on the West Coast here. I'm Colin here. This is C&C Live, day 16 of the 2024 Paris Summer Olympics. The 16th and final day, and the 19th and final day of us doing live streams every single day to recap these Olympics. Before we get into everything, reminder, as we always do, drop your comments and questions in the live chat. We will respond to them on air. Follow us on Twitter, CC Talks at CC Talks Podcast, our Discord server, cctalks.com/Discord, and listen and check out some of our episodes of the C&C Talks podcast right here on the C&C Talks YouTube channel, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else you listen to podcasts, and cctalks.com. Let's get into it. It's a bittersweet day today in Paris, because it was another excellent day, the Olympics, but it's also it's the end, and it's the end of something that we won't get back like this for 4 years. Sure, there's the Winter Olympics, and those are amazing in their own right, but they're not this. And you could argue that the Winter Olympics are better, and I'm not arguing against that. I'm just saying the Summer Olympics are like they're so special. Like this, especially some of the sports like swimming, track and field. Like sure, you can watch them more than once every 4 years, but I would assume a lot of other people just don't. It's the Olympics. That's when you see these sports. And this was an incredible, incredible Olympics, and we'll talk about that more later. Let's just quickly sum up the sports that took place today, the final medals, the final 13 medals that were handed out, and then we'll get to the closing ceremony and kind of tying a bow on these Paris Olympics. So let's start with the actual sports today. Again, 13 medals. It started with the women's marathon. Great finish, sprint finish. Sifan Hassan from the Netherlands, who won bronze in the 5K and the 10K, now winning gold in the marathon. It's, I believe, Ethiopia and Kenya getting second and third here in this event. Women's modern pentathlon podium is Hungary, France, and South Korea. Track cycling. The sprint event on the women's side is New Zealand, who had a great track cycling week. Germany and Great Britain, whereas the men's track cycling, the Kieran, was Netherlands and then Australia in second and third there. However, was another track cycling event today, the women's Omnium. This was an American gold, Jennifer Valente winning the gold medal for the U.S., Poland, and New Zealand coming in second and third. Again, New Zealand, great stuff on the track. Final weightlifting event competition for the world's strongest woman was won by Wenwen Lee of China, Korea, and Great Britain second and third. Some wrestling today. The men's classes, the podium was Japan, Iran, Albania, which I believe was the first Albanian medal ever, although actually they might have gotten a couple, but I think this was the first Olympics where they got medals. And then Puerto Rico was the other men's weight class. Today it was Bahrain, Georgia, Iran, and Azerbaijan, and then the women's weight class. This was an opportunity for the U.S. to grab a gold. They got silver, but Japan, U.S., Cuba, and Colombia. Women's volleyball, U.S. also coming up just short, a silver medal there. Brazil, the bronze. Italy getting the gold. When I say they came up just short, this was a badly played match by the United States in women's volleyball this morning. They never had a shot winning this match. It wasn't close. Other team sports, the final three events of these Olympics. Men's handball, Denmark, another title, probably helped by not having France in contention, because France generally the best team in the sport, though Denmark did beat them in 2016. They didn't have to worry about them this time. Denmark gets the gold over Germany, the team that knocked off France in the quarterfinals, Spain the bronze, men's water polo. Serbia wins the gold again, Croatia the silver. But in the United States, this was not a U.S. men's team that was expected to medal. They get the bronze, and they shockingly did better than the women did. If you were to tell me that at the beginning of these Olympics, I would have laughed at you, because the U.S. women's water polo team has a history of being dominant. The men's team does not. So to suggest that the men's team would get a medal and the women's team wouldn't is shocking, to be frank. And then we had the second U.S. versus France basketball game. This one on the women's side. Final event of the Olympics. And the United States, they have not lost a basketball game at the Olympics in 32 years. Most dominant team in Olympic history. And generally they blow teams out, even in the finals. That was not today. They won by a point. They won by 4 inches, because the shot that went in at the buzzer for France, foot was on the line. 4 inches, maybe 3, 2. Like, it was clear and obvious that it was going to be a 2. But at the same time, it should not have been that close. Again, France played the great game. Give them a ton of credit, but the 12 best players on the floor were Americans. This wasn't a France played like really well. This was more, although they did, this was more of a United States played really badly. And also, I think that Cheryl Reeve, the head coach of the U.S., didn't coach a great game. Specifically, Sabrina Ionescu needed a lot more minutes than she got. She seemed to barely be used. She was playing really well in the few minutes that she did get, but it ended up the people that needed to contributed. Asia Wilson, Fisher Collier, they came through when they needed to, and took home another gold medal, their 8th straight gold medal in women's basketball for the United States, which is really just an unbelievable streak. The United States was down 10, so in the third quarter. So credit to them for fighting back, getting the lead, and then holding on to it for dear life at the end of the fourth quarter. Because Gabby Williams, man, she was hitting everything for France today. Unbelievable. Australia, the bronze medal. So we have our final medal table. China tied the United States in terms of gold medals. It was a tie, 40 apiece. And when you look at that, the U.S. had opportunities, man, to get more. And that's evident by the 44 silvers. The opportunities were there. And they just couldn't quite come through. You look at the high jump. They could have split the gold. I'm not saying that it would have been the right thing to do to split that gold. And I mean, I guess credit to the American for wanting more, but for wanting to go for it, to do a jump off. But that could have been a gold there. Could have been a gold in volleyball this morning. They lost a gold in the 200 meters because Noah Lyles had COVID. Kerry Richardson just lost the 100-meter final. The men's 4x100 relay could have won that gold. The amazing comeback by the Netherlands in the mixed 4x400 relay. That's a gold that they could have won. There's just so many examples. The U.S. coming up just short against China in the men's 4x100 freestyle, 4x100 medley relay in the pool. Like, the opportunities were everywhere. I mean, Simone Biles stepping out of bounds twice in her floor routine. One more medal would have put them ahead of China. And there's just so many places. One more gold would have put them ahead of China. And there's just so many places where they could have got that gold, and they didn't. Which, fine. 40 medals, 40 gold medals, still a lot. If you look at the overall medal standings, total medals, 126 for the U.S., their most in decades. China only had 91. They were 35 behind. And that's 13 more for the U.S. than they had in Tokyo, compared to just 3 more than China had. China had 2 more golds this year. The U.S. had 1 more gold than 2021. Japan finishing 3rd in gold medals with 20. France finishing third in overall medals with 64. Really, really good performance from the French this year at their home Olympics. But it does really, really sting for the U.S. to not have that 41st gold somewhere. What could have been in that wrestling match today too. There's just so many possibilities. A couple of close losses in the pool besides the one I just said. A couple of other close losses on the track, I believe. It stings. Did see someone though today. Some China. I don't know if they were actually from China or whether they were just like a China supporter or whatever. Essentially argue that China's medals should count more, and that should be the tiebreaker because China's farther away from France, so that so it makes things harder for them in terms of the competition. It's just a wild, wild cope. First of all, the distances that they used were the capitals, so Paris to Beijing, which is Beijing's about as far away from Paris as you can get in China, and then Paris to DC, which DC is about as close to Paris as you can get in the US. So that's the problem, and also, who cares? I don't think it matters that much. I really don't. I'm sorry. So that's that. I think let's talk about the closing ceremony that happened just 15 minutes ago. Just wrapped up. They featured, of course, the Parade of Nations, slightly different from how they do the opening ceremony. They have just a couple flag bearers for each nation come out, and then they have just all the athletes come out together. So it doesn't take nearly as long as it does during the opening ceremony. But they had that, which is cool. They had they had like an orchestra playing. They were good. There were some other musical performances, I think, by a French band named Phoenix, I believe, that I personally did not find that interesting. Didn't feel like it really fit with the ceremony, but the artistic portion was, again, stunning. They did this act with the Olympic rings that they raised up into the air. This really, really cool thing with lights in the stands. Somebody with a piano essentially hanging upside down in the air while playing piano. Just some absolutely stunning acrobatics and art. Really, really, really awesome. Paris has done a great job with that in the opening ceremony and now the closing ceremony. Less good job. The speakers, Thomas Bach, and then whoever the chair of the Paris 2024 organizing committee are. It's too long, guys. It's not about you. The speeches are too long. They did the medal presentation for the women's marathon. Normally, the men's marathon is the last marathon. That's the one that's the medal ceremony that's at the closing ceremony. That wasn't today. Men's was yesterday. They switched it this year. Women's was on the final day. And then they had the handoff, of course. LA Mayor Karen Bass was there to take the Olympic flag. Leon Marchand also was the one that extinguished the torch. Obviously, huge applause for him in France. And then the handoff was fine. They gave it to Tom Cruise, which was a choice. They promised acrobatic moves. Look, I know that we're critical of Tom Cruise on this podcast, but it's not just our bias when I think I say his acrobatic stunt today was underwhelming. Very underwhelming. So they got the flag to Los Angeles, and then they had performances live from LA by actually first her sang the US anthem at Stade de France in Paris. They had in LA they had Snoop Dogg, who was apparently already gotten back to LA. Him and Dre perform I think it was Venice Beach. Same with Billie Eilish and Phineas and with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So like there were good moments in there. And then closing it out with a performance of My Way. It's a great song to close it with in the in Stade de France. Although I do think that the opening ceremony of the Olympics now always using Imagine by John Lennon, and now Using My Way, at the closing ceremony, they're getting awfully close to just becoming New York City's New Year's Eve party, but that doesn't stop it from being good. They're both good songs. I think now let's kinda sum up the last couple of weeks, because I get, like, recency bias and all that, and I also get that I don't this is my first year really truly watching, like, all of the Olympics. Like, I've watched bits and pieces in past years, but this is, like, really the first year that I've truly been invested in it. This was a very good Olympics. This is one of the best. And I say that, both from the way the really good job that NBC and Peacock did in actually presenting the Olympics. They did, I think, a really, really good job. Their production was top notch, except for Kelly Clarkson at the opening ceremony and Jimmy Fallon at the closing ceremony, but regardless, quite good. And also the time zone. It wasn't perfect. The 2028 in LA will be better, but it was um it was a lot better than, Beijing, Tokyo, Pyeongchang. But then in that from like a US viewer's eyes, sure, but the level of competition at these Olympics was incredible. So, so high. Um the times that we had on the track were wild, the number of close finishes on the track, on the field, the number of on the track, on the field, in the swimming, um number of comebacks that we had in those sports, incredible. Some classic games in team sports, that USA men's basketball game, unbelievable, and like yesterday and the one against Serbia, unbelievable basketball games. The men's tennis final, Djokovic and Alcaraz, incredible moments. The I don't even know if there's just so many moments I can go to. The judo final in the team event, with the France comeback and then the random wheel landing on Teddy Riner. Just unbelievable moments in these Olympics that I think will stick with a lot of people for a long time. A whole bunch of world records broken, Olympic records broken, really good moments for Americans, an amazing track meet for the Americans. If I were to make a case for the best moment of these Olympics, I think I'd have to argue with Quincy Hall's 400-meter comeback. I don't think anything can really rival that. But overall, really, really, really strong Olympics. Don't know how they top it in 2028. And I think another thing that helps is that Paris took risks, man. The opening ceremony, there was a big risk for them to take. I think it was Mike Tirico at the end of the closing ceremony broadcast that said My Way was a fitting song to, like, as Paris absolutely did it their way. And they did. They absolutely did. That was a huge risk for them to take, putting the opening ceremony out on the Seine. It worked. It really, really worked. The venues that they chose, just unbelievable. The other stuff that they did for the opening ceremony, closing ceremonies, just everything, unbelievable. The beach volleyball court where they placed that comes to mind, especially as being stunning. Take risks. The cities that host the Olympics, don't be reckless, but it doesn't need to be done in the traditional way all the time. And Paris proved that this year, and it worked beautifully. The financials, is it great for Paris? I don't know, probably not. Is it great for any city? Probably not, and that's probably why the Olympics still have a lot of work to do if they want to continue existing in 50 years. But for now, I would argue that this Olympics, especially in the US, brought a lot of enthusiasm back to the Olympics. Don't think you could have asked for much more out of Paris 2024. And also concludes our time live streaming it, recapping it every day here on C&C Live. And 19 live shows down. That's a lot. 19 straight days of doing this, but now we can officially say 0 to go. So thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining us every single day here on C&C Live after the Olympics. Uh, Look at our Twitter. It's at C&C Talks Podcast, Discord, /Discord. Check out our episodes here. C&C Talks YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, cctalks.com, anywhere else you listen to podcasts. This would generally be the time where I would give you a rundown of everything that we're looking forward to tomorrow. But at this point, I'm looking forward to a good night's sleep because that's where we are right now. It's over, and it was amazing while it lasted, and I'll miss it. But looking forward to 2028, and of course the Winter Olympics coming up in just a year and a half in Italy in 2026. So thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks so much for joining us every single day throughout these Olympics. We really appreciate it for our entire team. Zack, Morris, Charlie, Colin. See you soon.